Joining me live now is Israel's Defence Force spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus. Jonathan, thanks so much for your time. First of all, can you confirm that Israel has killed a second Hamas commander? I believe his name is Mohammed Assar. Were there civilian casualties?
Good morning, Laura. Thank you for having me again. Yes, the fighting continues. We are at war with Hamas ever since the attack on Israel on October the 7th, and we intend to eradicate Hamas before ending this war. We continue to strike Hamas commanders. I cannot yet confirm that he is dead. I can say that we continue to hunt them wherever they are, whether or not they're hiding in tunnels, in safe houses, or if they're in other locations. And we will continue to do so until all of the senior echelons of Hamas are no longer posing a threat towards Israel.
And this strike was in the same refugee camp, I believe. Can you confirm that? Was this more targeted, or should we expect a high toll of civilian casualties?
I sure hope not. I hope that the only casualties will be Hamas combatants. Those are the ones that we are aiming for. We are not fighting against the Palestinian civilians, and my only wish would have been to the people that you're showing on the screen now, which are unfortunately paying the price for Hamas aggression against us, that they would have heeded our warning and evacuated the area. We've been warning and asking them to evacuate for 2 weeks. And all of this could have been avoided had they listened to those warnings and evacuated south.
My question on that particular point is, because you're right, you have been telling civilians to move south for 2 weeks, but what is the point of doing that? Wouldn't Hamas operatives be doing the same, still moving amongst civilians and moving south?
You're correct. That would create a dilemma for Hamas operatives. Some of them may cower away and try to blend in with the civilians, and some of them would probably stay and fight within their protected compounds, their tunnel complexes. And I think that, Hamas, they're a unfortunately solid fighting organization with lots of equipment, lots of weapons, military hierarchy and discipline. Our assessment is that most of them have stayed in northern Gaza, and they are now fighting against our troops that are there. And, when you balance between trying to minimize threat to civilians and perhaps allowing the enemy some wiggle room, we prefer to minimize the risk to civilians, and we're able to, deal with the fact that maybe a few of the terrorists are escaping.
Okay, the IDF, I've just read, is about 800 metres away from dividing the Gaza Strip in half, north and south, I'm assuming. Separating north from south, is that correct, first of all? And what is the purpose of that?
Well, it's less about geography because there's so many dimensions to it, but it's more about being able to engage Hamas and attack their military compounds in all of the parts of northern Gaza. That is what this is about. This isn't, a World War II battle where we will place some flag somewhere. This isn't it. This is about striking military capabilities, finding the terrorists, and making sure that they, at the end of the fighting, that they don't have neither combatants, nor infrastructure, nor weapons in order to be able to attack Israeli civilians. That is the aim with this war. And I want to remind people who maybe have come back from holiday, almost a month of fighting. It started with an unprecedented and unprovoked attack against Israel. Yes. That is what we are now responding to. And we understand that the situation that existed before October the 7th was unsustainable, and that we have to change it for the future of our children and our communities.
Ground forces, remind me, have been moving into Gaza for almost a week now. Is the purpose, part of the purpose, to find and rescue hostages? And if they have been in this area for a week, should we have had some better news by now?
You are right. That is one of the most important tasks. We are searching enemy combatants and striking them, and we are, in parallel to that, also, of course, searching for our hostages. 240 of them are still in Gaza. The only good news, as you said in the beginning, some good news, few and far between. But a few days ago, we were able to rescue one of our hostages, female Private Ori Megidish. She is home, repatriated with her family and loved ones. She is mentally and physically well. And we were able to rescue her out of the hands of terrorists in Gaza during a special operation that was made possible by the presence of our troops in northern Gaza.
And to the extent that you can answer this next question, please do. But I understand there's a political dimension to this. We've had a leader of Hamas say the intention is essentially to wipe out Israel overnight. And I think that is pricked the interests of many in the Western world. But we've also had, I think, another escalation in rhetoric from the likes of Hezbollah and Iran through its proxies too. They are threatening Israel at a level that I don't think we've seen in the last 3 weeks now. Is Israel particularly concerned about this new set of words and, Jordan doing things like recalling its ambassador? And can Israel defend itself on so many fronts for so long?
Yes, the short answer is yes, we can and we will. We do not want additional war, not with Hezbollah, not with the Iranians, not with anybody else. But if it is brought upon us and forced upon us, we will do so and we will defend ourselves, just as we are now defending ourselves against Hamas. Granted, Hezbollah is a far more powerful military enemy than Hamas is. And granted, the Iranians, even though they're 1,000 kilometers or 600 miles away, have significant military capabilities. But to put things into perspective, we have been employing about a third or a quarter of the Air Force in our operations in Gaza. Much of the Air Force is on standby, and we have told that to the Lebanese and to Hezbollah. You've been attacking us, you've been firing anti-tank missiles, you've been upping the ante and the rhetoric and the threats and the violence against us. You are doing a dangerous thing for the future of the state of Lebanon. And the question that needs to be asked isn't if we are capable of defending ourselves, it is, are the enemies willing to pay the price that they will pay? Because Lebanon stands to lose everything and gain absolutely nothing from allowing Hezbollah to drag them into a war for the sake of Iranian masters in Tehran or for saving the ISIS lookalike in Gaza, which is Hamas.
Do you agree with some assessments that Hamas is winning the propaganda war at the moment?
No, I don't think so. I think that what we're seeing is continued polarization in the world. And I think that there are so many people that are ill-informed about the situation. I feel ashamed for people out in the streets chanting slogans like "from the river to the sea." That is calling for genocide. And these are people that on the same sentence decry what they allege are our wrongdoings. But at the end of the day, they are chanting something that means the extermination of all Jews in Israel. And these are people who think and feel and want to project themselves as being liberal, developed, and peace-loving and justice-seeking people. They are anything but. Anybody who chants that slogan supports terror, supports violence, supports injustice, and I think is a bigoted person that should be ashamed of himself.
Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Laura, for having me.